And you're listening to Live from the Path, coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper.
Boo is acting like a juvenile.
Apparently, I got a lot of sass in my eyebrows that I just wasn't aware of.
I don't know what that means.
I feel like the hat might really frame it up.
Yeah.
And make it seem like it's a lot more than I want it to.
You know what Boo is like? He's like a metaphor. Like, have you ever tried to capture air in a bag? Like, you think it's going to be like a hot air balloon. Like, you're going to whip it around the room, and then the bag will become full, and you will instantly seal it. And then there will be a pressurized air bag. But once you've done it and seal it up, there's nothing in the bag.
Wow.
And then it's just a full-blown disappointment. That is how I feel about Booba.
Wow.
I've been going to therapy recently for my self-esteem and my self-worth.
About when Mike says that I'm a disappointing bag of air that just turned out to not actually be anything. It's not often.
You had no value to my life.
When I feel compared to a bag of nothing
A clear
that
bag.
you were super excited about. Like, the activity of acquiring it felt great.
This has a lot of
But then
potential.
when you got it, there was
No.
no sustenance to it at all.
No.
It was just a bag of air and a dude with some sassy eyebrows.
This metaphor is like the gift that keeps on giving.
I was real worried about it, actually. I didn't follow where that was. Why are you trying to capture air in a bag?
Yeah, I'm not certain why you're trying to grab the sky in your Ziploc, but whatever.
I got to have it tested for allergies.
Don't talk about my house. Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us on Live from the Path. We appreciate you hanging out with us this week. So here's what we got on the docket. So there were a couple interesting things in the old news. So first of all, and everybody loves this one, social media influencer Ollie London has detransitioned after converting to Christianity. So this is an interesting thing, because the question is, if we think God is present in these types of situations, and then the question is like, what are the one, we can't be surprised that God is working in those, and then what are the implications for folks of which this is actually happening? Because like it's a super precarious position to be someone who, I guess, if you want to think of the modern winds of culture, celebrating your life choices and then finding yourself on the opposite side of that freaking hurricane, that's got to be a rough toe. And it's interesting to think about just in general countercultural life choices, like things when the rest of the world looks at you, goes and goes, there's no way, man. We were for you, and now we are like so against you,
Right.
as a block of folk. And so, interesting. I kind of want to read the article and just give it a little bit of some exposure, and then just kind of talk through some of the implications of that. Also, and it's been a while since we talked about this, but like Sadie Robertson, are you familiar with this person?
Yeah, isn't she one of the Duck Dynasty
Yes,
childs?
yes, that's right.
Oh.
Yep. Sadie Robertson Huff. She warns the church that modesty culture can be dangerous and push people away. And so we'll get into some of the details of that. And Buva always says modest is hottest.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an interesting spot, and maybe I saw this at my own house a little bit around like when it comes to kids. What are you laughing at? Is it because
He's
Buva's
doing
not
the
dressed
bag of air
modestly?
again. No, he's pretending to be the deflating bag of air that is my existence.
Don't make the wind noise in here. I'm against that.
It gives me the giggles.
Anyway, like there is a notion, maybe just in my mind, of like kids rebelling against what feels like conservative Christianity. And I don't know. I don't know if I have a warning here or not. If it's just like, well, I mean, people be rebelling, or is there a way that we go about this that otherwise, like, it feels like you're doing a good thing for your kid, but like you're setting them up for rebellion? And is that possible? Is there ways in which we can rightly talk about what is good, and there are ways to go about it which otherwise kind of just springboards a Rumspringer?
I'm ready.
So anyway, I kind of wanted to talk through that. Also, we got some advice on Dear Life from the Path. Mike, any heads up on these?
It's trouble in all the lands.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Okay, so this is from crosswalk.com, a website that otherwise tallies jaywalking. Social media influencer Ollie London has detransitioned after converting to Christianity. A popular social media influencer has undergone a radical transformation after he surrendered his life to Jesus Christ during a season he identified as a transgender woman.
Booba, you heard of this person?
I have no idea.
Okay.
We talked about this person before, didn't we?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe on your other case, Dan. Changing genders with Dan Hudson.
Okay, I'm not. I'm never. Yeah, never mind. Go ahead.
Because it was, cross changing ethnic and gender. And it was like multiple things.
Yeah, it's total. It's a buffet of changes.
And totally in. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
no, really, I feel this way. It's like surgeries. And,
That's right.
And yeah.
That's right. Booba was going to say something insensitive. Go
sorry.
ahead.
I wasn't trying to say something insensitive. I just wasn't certain what the original identity was and what the new transgender identity was that they transitioned to.
Okay, we'll get to that. So
Okay,
I'll read the story. Here we go. According to CBN News, Ollie London underwent 32 plastic surgeries totaling over $300,000 to make him look like a Korean woman, despite being born a white man.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, you sleaze.
I mean, that's commitment.
That's in.
No, I recognize that story more than I recognize the person's name.
Gotcha.
That's why. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, I mean, the win. It's the wins are against a confident white man, probably. Like it just there's a lot to feel like you. This seems weird. It's the I'm proud to be who I am in that particular combination. It's like the winds are against it. He had further planned to travel to Bangkok, Thailand to undergo gender reassignment surgery and to receive breast implants, but was convicted by God. It's super interesting to run into this. He said, I was going to church. Now, wham. Reminder.
Yes.
When people walk into your church building and you look at them and go, what's happening over there? You go, I know what's happening. They're here. They're here, and the word of the Lord is going out and about, and let people soak it in. Because what a deal for someone in this who's kind of looking at themselves and looking that it feels like they don't fit who they are, and still feel compelled to go to a church building where like they have to have some conception that like this may not be copacetic in here.
Right.
What a thing.
Yeah. And the church is battling whether we affirm or not affirm, and how about if we just let be and let God do His thing?
Yes.
You know, without having to affirm or not affirm.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
wouldn't you rather be in the now? Let's be in the conversation. Like, there's some things where, like, I think the fireworks happen when you start to press church ceremonies and things like that, right? But like past that. I mean, like, who are you? There's an arrogance to like forcing the process that goes, eliminating God's time and saying, no, you must be this and right now.
Yeah.
That's a people problem, not a God problem.
I have someone in my congregation who is an alternative lifestyle. And I loved this person enough to sit down and say, I want you to know you're going to hear things that you're going to be uncomfortable with. Yeah. But we love you and you're welcome here.
Yes.
But I'm not going to change my teaching because, to not hurt your feelings. I mean, we want to make sure we're representing God's word, and they respect it and want that. That's why they're there.
Yes.
Not just to feel good.
That's right. And that's super interesting, right? And I think that should jack with what I've seen, just social media stuff, some Christians' description or what they believe to be true about folks who are dealing with concepts of transgenderism and concepts of even their own. We're talking ethnicity in here. We're talking about sexual orientation. And like, I think it's probably clear at this point that there's places of break on what we think God says is good and what feels like something to people. But like, they aren't. These are people. These are deep people. These are people who are created in the image and likeness of God. They are folks who are looking out at a complicated world, feeling complicated and sometimes disparate feelings. And so like nobody's a cartoon in here. And we do the world a disservice. We do the gospel a disservice when you make people flat like this. And so just, again, it's a church caution. You just be super careful because you're not this way. Your sin is not this way. Whatever complications you have in your relationships, times, like, whatever, just everyone's doing the same thing. So Anyway, he said, I was going to church and I was thinking, why am I doing this? What's the reason behind this? God made me the way I am, and I shouldn't be chasing this. It's not right, he told the outlet. What a thing.
That is a big statement.
What a
It's
thing.
huge.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
spits in the face of a lot of trauma and doubt and identity crisis that has happened over years to be able to grab a hold of a truth of who you are as who God calls you, and that's a huge thing.
after $300,000 trying to be someone you're not.
Name something else that could do that in one swipe. Now, honestly, like this wasn't done. You like this was not over, right?
Right.
As in having to deal with past traumas and having to look and see what life looks like going forward. But like, name one other drive-by like God moment that could replicate the same thing, where God just shows up and goes, "Come on, you know what's true about you. Listen to me." And then you're like, okay, okay, yeah, I'm in.
Well, and you know what's super interesting about that too is because like one of the core questions is like people searching to feel like their physical expressions. We talk about this a lot in church, right? They like that the insides match the outsides. The things that you're feeling, thinking, doing match. And so like I'll talk about them a lot when it comes to like things that we're uncomfortable with in a Western culture, like bowing when you pray, putting your arms when you're worshiping. Even anointing with oil, like they're not magic physical things. They're things that say, like when you're praying for God's focused attention, you put the oil on the forehead as a physical expression of what you're feeling or asking for in God inside. You bow in prayer, not because it's magical to bow in prayer, but because you're humbly approaching God, and your body is doing the same thing. It's merging the innies and the outies, as this Buva likes to talk about. Okay, so insides and outsides, and so. Like so think of that. That's a Western problem with Christianity, with religion. And that's the same thing that we're talking about here is like, I feel like I am more this masculine, feminine, attracted to this type of person or these types of personality traits or whatever that is. And so like you can that can be rectified without the presence of Jesus. If you can find a way for someone to go, you know what? I wasn't comfortable with who I am, but now I am. But to be honest, to Mike's point, I've not actually seen that happen outside of trusting that there is an authority that is bigger than me who can say such a thing.
Yep.
Because otherwise I'm dependent on the opinion of other people, on the fickle opinion of myself, on what I think of me.
Yeah.
And so like it's interesting because God did two things. He not only worked on what it looks like to acknowledge a God of the universe and a creator, but he also gets in there and solves the people level, the human level thing that makes us dissatisfied with ourselves. And we get a relationship with God plus a satisfaction with ourselves that comes with that understanding. It's what a cool thing.
I wonder how long that took.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like how long was he part of this group and listening and reflecting? And he went there for a reason. So he knew already what he was doing wasn't it.
Something didn't feel right.
Yeah. He thought it was. He really invested. He went all the way, but he still knew deep inside this isn't what I thought it was. Maybe it's God. Maybe I'll find that at a church.
Yeah.
And then how long did that take? Because I'm sure any of us would fight back. We would resist. We'd hear things like, nope, you guys are just what I thought you were.
That's right.
Somewhere in there, God broke through and said, no, just let me be here.
Yep.
You know what it is like at what point, like in your ownership of a vehicle, do you start buying like seat covers or like steering wheel fancies or like loading it up with air fresheners, right? Like you don't start doing that until the car is starting to break down what it had originally. Right, like a brand new car, like you don't instantly go out and buy yourself some
Tasmanian devil seat cover.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a fuzzy steering wheel. Like you look at your steering wheel, you're like, this is getting gross. We're gonna cover up with this fuzzy thing.
Yeah.
Right. Or like we're gonna put seat covers on this thing and maybe it won't, or get new floor mats. That'll really jazz the place up, right?
Yep.
Get the new car smell for the new cars.
Right. Right.
That's right. My 1996 Corolla is a new car.
This car smells like queso.
smell
I
it.
need to get some Christmas trees up in here.
Right. So like the $300 that you threw against like these new accoutrements for your rig, it ain't brand new and you know it, right? You know it. And so like I look at a lot of this stuff like a lot like that, right? Like after a while, like there's something about the car or the thing that God gave you that just starts to break down and wear. And instead of taking it back to the dealership and going, put this back to new, like you start trying to solve it with, fancy tire caps or, like a new license plate holder or whatever, just to make you try to feel better about this thing. But it's not, it's not quite what it was supposed to be. And you're throwing the best paltry means you have at it to try to get it to be better. And you feel a little bit better about it. But in the end, it's not the rig. It's not the brand new rig that was given to you or that you got, And so like a lot of this stuff, like when I think about it, because I think about my own sin the same way, right? Like if I'm not taking it back to God to get it fixed or looked at or turned back into new, I'm really just trying to like make it better to the best of my abilities, which is whatever Walmart's offering for cheap hubcap liners now that I can just smack on there. And I'm like, look how great these tires look. And like I fixed it with a $5 hubcap liner instead of like getting new rims for my car or getting it put back to the way that it was meant to look.
Yeah, totally.
And I wonder, he was an influencer, or he is one. I don't know, maybe he isn't now. I don't know.
Yep.
You kind of crave attention. This personality does, because he kept going with it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what led to all these extra surgeries, because he got attention, he got conversation. I went to conference last week in Ohio, and I have like a really wild shirt, like a bright colored, just
It's just unbelievable, Dan.
Yeah, right. I know it's hard for me to.
Can't imagine.
This is over the top for me, right? I mean, every time I wear this shirt, literally, strangers come up to me and either love it or hate it.
It's a shirt that has pictures of Dan in other shirts. It's a tiled shirt of a bunch of his greatest hits of shirts.
I'm going to try to get that.
That's great.
but I purposely wore this day one of the conference. I thought, I'm working a booth, I'm doing this stuff, and I thought I'm going to be a splash. And it was everywhere I went. People just had this look of like, I don't know how to take you, but they looked right.
Yeah.
Yep. And one of the last things of the day, I'm walking back to the room or something, and like one of the employees are like, "Man, I love that shirt." And I said, "Yeah, people love it or hate it." And I was talking, and he goes, "Man, it's not my style." And I said, "Yeah, it's not mine either, to be honest. But look, we're having a conversation. I have conversations all day long because of the shirt." Okay, so I went back to the room and I put it away, and I went back to my earth tones for the rest of the week. And I just can't help but wonder with some of these influencers that's what they're doing. I got a surgery, like I got my wild shirt. I can take my shirt off.
Yeah.
And you get addicted to it because that's why I wear it. It's not because I really it's really an obnoxious shirt. But man, the conversations now it's a game, and I can't help but wonder, he got there and then he's broken because he's done permanent change to his body.
Yeah.
And the last thing we need to do is push him away because, oh no, you got this ugly shirt on and you've messed up yourself, and I don't want to be seen with you because you're a freak. And I'm so glad he found a church that said, "Hey, come on in.
Yeah.
We don't care what your shirt looks like."
Yeah.
Unlike the Foos Boys.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really a Dan Hudson level transformation you got there, friend.
Yeah. I'd like to come to your church. Let me direct you to this church I'm aware of in Johnston.
First of all, look at this shirt. Yay or nay?
You can be amongst your kind. Yeah. Okay. So he continues. He says, God made me the way I am, and I shouldn't be chasing this. It's not right, he told the outlet. I was just experiencing gender dysphoria, and I would have ruined my life and been super unhappy, he continued. He added that finding God and reading the Bible contributed to his detransition. I actually started going to church 3 months ago. There's the answer.
3 months. There we go. I forgot.
And I go several times a week now, Lennon explained. I've been reading the Bible, I've been learning online and watching YouTube videos about the teaching of Jesus, and that has really helped me in my detransition. It made me realize that God made me the way he did, and I should just stick with who I am, be who I am, and just find happiness. And I think that part sticks out to me. Maybe if you're anybody that's listening, that maybe you've gone through this, you're going through this, and you're in the middle of it, or you know people who are, is that like there's got to be a point where it triggers to say, look, I'm looking for who I am, and if it ends up completely replacing you, it's not you. And like you're not going to find who you are, who you're created to be by somebody else. And I get it. Like sometimes there's societal expectations around gender that starts to put you on what feels like a periphery. I get that. That's a societal limitation. It's not a God problem. That like you're a more effeminate fella, or something like that. Because I think
what's your point of Fuva?
What do you mean?
Did you see that too?
Yeah, I saw it.
You're more,
You're a more effeminate
yeah,
fella.
this guy.
Like this guy over here in the
guy
corner
over here.
with the
the
pro
airbag
tank
and
on.
The beard.
He was wearing an apron when he came in today. But I guess the point is that like some of the societal pressures are that it's a fickle society around you, and it's hard to push back. I mean, it's peer pressure has been a thing forever. But now it's getting at like core things like that. It's not just, hey, are you wearing the right type of thing? Now we're getting at, hey, are you the gender we expect you to be?
Or are you a furry?
Yeah, right. So like, I get it. Anyway, it's more complicated than what I'm saying. I recognize that. But like, just as you think about it, you can't find who you're created to be by becoming somebody else. Like you are who you are. And I know what it feels like. Is it feels like what you're doing physically is to try to match innies and outies. It's like the thing that you feel that you are to like your physical appearance. But like, again, if I can accept, just like this fella's talking about, that God made you the way that you are, then your closest path to happiness is to live in that than it is to kind of try to find it somewhere else. Lennon further detailed his detransition in a YouTube video titled Explaining My Detransition. He pushed back on the transgender ideology and shared that the transgender community criticized him for detransitioning. I almost feel like the trans lobby has become a cult, the social media influencer said. I left the trans community and suddenly they attacked me. They try to dehumanize me. They call me names online. They compare me to some very horrible people. I saw one tweet comparing me to Hitler. But I just ignore that and I don't pay attention to the hate.
That's ultra lazy.
Yeah,
not
it really
everyone can be compared to Hitler. You know what I'm saying? Hitler's a pretty enigmatic character throughout history, known for murdering millions of people. I don't think it's on par with someone detransitioning from whatever gender that they want.
You were on our side, and we really appreciated you when you were on our side and trying to find your identity. But now that you're adversarial against us in trying to find your identity, but still trying to do the same thing, we hate you and are comparing you to the person who kicked off the Holocaust.
Now, to be fair, like, does Christianity suffer a little bit, like from our reactions to this, right? Because we would say, if you're trying to find your identity in Christ, we of course are on your side and completely approve of that, right? Like, and then all of a sudden, if someone says, "Look, I'm trying to find my identity," it might be found somewhere else. We do, just like a loving parent, look at it and go, "That's not where it's going to be. I think this is not going to end up providing you what you think it's going to."
I also wouldn't call anybody names that's trying to find.
Well, so that's the thing is like there's portions of our organization that
there's no doubt about it. Yeah, no, agreed.
And so like it is hard to look at the worst parts of the internet and the transgender community and their reactions and not see some skeletons in our own closet of people basically not understanding what it looks like to follow Jesus, because we don't do that.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think it. There is a different. I don't know. Maybe I would say every group has got what you think is like the vocal pusher, and then you got people who are like trying to figure it out. I think Christianity's that way. I think that's probably true in the transgender community.
Of course,
like every community's got the folks where you're like, that guy, that like these folks are just using me because I support or it looks like I contribute to their view of the world. I don't know. Christians are super prone to this. Like, I remember we used to go through like article over article every week. There was like, hey, this celebrity mentioned Jesus, and like, we love them and we should go see all their movies.
Kanye just wrote a worship album.
That guy was blaspheming. Like, he didn't say Jesus Christ in a positive notation. Like, you just took it out of context and go, he must love him because he said it 5 times.
The group gets painted by the loudest people.
Yeah, right. And so totally, again, we risk. This type of article ends up on like a Christian site because we're like, oh, see? But like, again, there's just a lot of complication in here, and we are best served by remembering what the article points out well, which is that God is good and faithful, and there is no such thing as gone or too far from where Jesus is not going to follow you and call you back to him. But like, this also is one story out of 10,000 where the thing is not happening or hasn't happened yet. And so like we live in the gray, we live in the coral, and the mess of trying to figure out who we are as humans. And so, anyway, maybe that's the encouragement to the church. Is like there's hope here that people meet Jesus, and Jesus works out things that humans are bad at working out.
Hey, this has been with Live from the Path. The audio on the rest of the show just got super dicey, so we had to cut it out. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll pick back up with you next week. Thank you.